Let's talk about the month of November coming up on this next episode of the Principles Timeline series.
The Christian Principles Podcast is brought to you in partnership with the Herzog Foundation. But bear in mind, the views and opinions expressed here are those of the hosts and not necessarily of the Herzog Foundation.
Welcome to the Christian Principles Podcast. I'm Matt George.
And I'm Mark Zockoll. We are coming to you looking at the month of November, as we have since February.
Yeah, February. We're getting there.
Yeah, we're almost done with this, in so much that almost is several months still from being done. But what, 3? We have December, January left, so 2. Well, this one counts too. Do you count the one you're on? It's like when you count the tens or the zeros. It's difficult. It doesn't make math simple.
Zero.
Math was never simple to begin with, but it makes it even harder.
There are 2 remaining.
There's 2 remaining. Okay, we'll go with that. Let's go ahead and start with the observances, which are day observances in the calendar. First off, we have Election Day. Now, perhaps that shuts your school down. Perhaps it does not. But that's November the 4th. We have then the Marine Corps Birthday, which is November the 10th, and it happens just before Veterans Day on November the 11th. We have the Universal Children's Day. This is a UN observance that is promoted worldwide. Of course, the one we're all thankful for.
We're very thankful.
And excited about. Turkey Day, Thanksgiving Day. Now, we got to ask, where are you on turkey, Matt?
Where am I on turkey?
Yeah.
Dark meat all day long.
Dark meat, you can handle it. White meat?
I mean, white meat's great, but I mean, it's got to be thin, and it's got to be moist, like gravy or something. Dry white turkey meat is just, it's tough.
The sad thing is, the dry white turkey meat reminds me of the reasons I didn't like Thanksgiving. I didn't like Thanksgiving growing up because the food I thought was nasty, but then you realize you're just having bad food.
Yeah.
You're just having bad food on Thanksgiving. And so it's more like an issue of the poor creation, not so much of the Thanksgiving itself. So yes, later on in life, Thanksgiving has become an absolute favorite. And because I think, not only because I'm not usually working the Thanksgiving week being an educator, but also because we will have the Friendsgiving followed by the family Thanksgiving number 1, family Thanksgiving number 2, family Thanksgiving number 3, and literally family Thanksgiving number 4, just depending on what the week happens to be. You just have a big one when you go back home, though, right?
Just a big one.
After the Friendsgiving with your friends. Then we have the Native American Heritage Day occurring on November 28th. Matt, you go ahead with the week-long observances.
Yeah, it looks like the first week of November, 2 different week-long observances. That'll be the 3rd through the 9th this year of 2025. We've got National Animal Shelter Appreciation Week. We love those animal shelters. Maybe you're able to pick up an animal or 2. And National Veterans Small Business Week. National Veterans Small Business Week. You heard it. You heard it here, folks.
This is the first time I've ever heard of that in my life.
Well, you heard it. That's what I said.
Also,
you heard it here.
Also, I won't be picking up any animals.
You might be dropping some
off. The shelter can have my animals.
Not picking them up. November 17th to 23rd, sponsored by the NEA. This is American Education Week. Woot woot. Let's celebrate.
We'll celebrate the American Education Week. We don't really have a good reason to celebrate the NEA right now, or probably ever, but we are thankful to observe the recognition of education whenever we can.
And I think it's also fitting that Thanksgiving time is often a time for families. So November 24th to the 30th is National Family Week. Let's celebrate the family. Make sure you're spending time with yours.
In fact, the month-long observances, there are a couple family observances to note. First of all, it's Military Family Month. So National Family Week does bring us back to thoughts of the military families. National Family Caregivers Month is also in November. It is National Native American Heritage Month. It is National Adoption, National Gratitude, and National Homeless Youth Awareness Month. And then there are the three diseases which get awareness this month: diabetes, epilepsy, and lung cancer. And Lord forbid you have any loss from any of those, or you suffer with any of those now, or you know someone who does, of course, and as many of us you do, but we do raise awareness of diabetes, epilepsy, and lung cancer in the month of November.
Yeah, a lot of observances within this. For me, a very short month. I don't know why. November always feels like it starts and it ends.
Well, give us that overview from the administrative before we get into these. Before we get into the new format that we have for this, what are some administrative overviews, thoughts on November as a whole?
Yeah, well, I'll just speak for our ministry because our facility is a polling place. So when we talk about election day, often we can't be in school because it is a polling place. So we're missing a day of school there. This is typically the month we're taking teachers away to a teachers convention.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple days gone there. Veterans Day we do take off for. Sometimes it's nice because the teachers convention will also overlap Veterans Day. We can get a day back, but sometimes it doesn't work out. And then you've got just Thanksgiving break, which I know different people might do it. Different schools will do it differently, but we always take off we have a half day on the Tuesday before November, and then we come back the next Tuesday. So that usually takes a massive chunk out of November. So my teachers are always asking me at the beginning of the year, we're going to have 10 days in November this year? I'm like, we'll see.
I already had a student talking to me about the few number of days that there were in November and December and the rest of October. I was like, this is too early. Stop counting. We don't need to be counting right now.
Yeah.
It's like when teachers count down the end of the year. I chafe at it. But in November, we think of gratitude and stewardship. Okay. These are our focus words for November. Check back in with you as to what the emotions of the month are. Something else we're including in that publication. We're going to have a positive and negative emotion. But we're going to start with the students. We're going to break this down by students, parents, faculty, staff, family and friends, community around us, and then offer times for reflection as well for you. But that's going to be the way we approach November, December, and January. And then ultimately, like we said, we're going to publish this in that same sort of format. So for our students, we're going to expect them to be thankful in the November. So perhaps we are working as a school to reignite an observance of whatever the year's theme would be, or spiritual theme would be, and then twisting that to say, what does this theme look like as concerns Thanksgiving, gratitude, and stewardship? So leading Thanksgiving chapel services, perhaps students who are leading service projects, good time for the Honor Society or the student council to be involved with those things. Encouraging gratitude journals. We've already talked about having one for ourselves as administrators. And then classroom acts of gratitude board, perhaps, a gratitude journal, gratitude newsletter going home. Could be one of many things. Providing opportunities for students to honor veterans and community servants. This is a big one, especially where we are situated and where you could possibly be situated near a base or near a, some sort of military center. Perhaps your students are also involved in some way in a school-wide day of service, giving back day, which could or could not be tied to a fundraiser. It's been done both ways in my history. So the fall seasons end and the winter ones begin in athletics. So you are wrapping your minds around the students who may be suffering from the perils of defeat or suffering from the ills of winning, whichever one it may happen to be, and thinking about which athletes will then be rededicating themselves to the classroom space or turning right into a different sport, whatever it may be. Just realize where your athletes are this time. Also, that you have the school has decided to have some mid-season between the fall and winter athletic events occurring. And so the early part of November, late part of October, we'd expect, if there are any times for these activities to occur, they've probably been planned for this time. So look ahead and be aware of what's coming up in that tweener time. And then as the second quarter has probably started we can think about renewing plans for success with specific students, all our students, making sure that we have adjusted those, thought through those, worked through those.
And shifting away from students, we'll talk about their parents. Talk about them parents for a little bit.
The parents.
So November, as I was just talking about, with a lot of disruption to schedule, this is a time to make sure you are communicating well ahead of time with parents. Holiday schedules, perhaps you've got exams coming up. So make sure parents are aware well in advance. As I was reminded of lately, parents need to see something and hear it at least 5 different ways before it actually sinks in. So please make sure that you're getting through to them. As we were talking through Thanksgiving, what maybe you have a special meal at school or a service project, get parents involved. I know our parents always love jumping in and assisting in something like that, especially service projects. So look forward to that. This is also when in talking about service and gratitude, stewardship. This would be a great time to put out maybe a newsletter to let parents know some successes that are being seen, some stories of student growth, or even those acts of gratitude that your students have highlighted on the board, and we can pass that along to the parents. It'd be a wonderful encouragement for them. I know it's easy to communicate with parents the difficult things, the hardships.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make sure that we're also sharing the praises. And then with the second quarter getting started, I know we just mentioned this with the students. Maybe some plans have to be refreshed. So we're going to be communicating with them, giving them different tips for helping their students be successful in the second marking term.
This conversation we've had over and over again about parents, and I continue to be interested to see how schools are holding parent universities, taking the time to offer, and I hate saying offer instruction to parents, but that's what I wind up saying, is offering instruction to parents on parenting. I don't know as though I'll ever be comfortable with that, because in my worldview as an educator and my philosophy of education, I find myself to be subservient to, that's the wrong way of saying it. I find myself to want to be in every way as possible critically aligned with the home. And that, I can't point to the place in the Bible where I'm supposed to be as a school leader instructive to that home outside of just letting them know what is good and proper inner workings of my institution. So it is a very odd place. And I shouldn't say, I'm not speaking, there are situations where churches have, pastoral staff member offering these sorts of instructions. And so it's a little bit, I just feel less comfortable doing so in an administrative role to parents that I am saying I'm coming alongside of, not instructing.
Right. And that I think that's the key, because it's how you're communicating that. You can communicate it as a dictator. Parents, you are failing your children if these things are being seen in your home. Which
so well.
I know we would be tempted to say, but you can understand the difference between that approach and, hey, we want to just share some data that we have found to be really helpful for us, and maybe it'll be helpful for you. Take it or leave it. But we really suggest you take it.
Please take it. Please, I'm begging you to take this. Yeah. All right, moving on to our faculty. So we're going to celebrate American Education Week by recognizing our teachers and their dedication, by recognizing the students that are part of that, having just them be aware of the American Education Week, offering, this is a fall time to do a little bit of teacher celebration if possible with the PTA. Encourage faculty prayer time at Thanksgiving. So we're getting that idea of gratitude, putting that front and center with our faculty and staff. Perhaps we are offering them a chance in their monthly HR bingo or whatever it happens to be to take time to make time for prayer, to take time for active Thanksgiving, writing a postcard. This would be a time when I'm bringing to morning devotions my postcards or my thank you notes and asking them to take the devotion time to instead take a moment, reflect on who has helped them in their classrooms, and then to ask them to write something to those persons right then in that time. Begin preparing for semester exams. If they are holding their semester exams, this would be looking ahead towards what's coming up. Perhaps you have a 3-semester system, or if it is the end of the first semester system, the end of the second quarter, they're looking ahead to what they need to be making note of now. Check in on lesson planning, because lesson planning often is, I heard someone today describe her lesson plans as amazing in the fall and then just scraping by in the in the second half of the year. So check in to make sure those lesson plans are still what you are hoping them to be, and they haven't become something that you otherwise would not. And then checking on grade book issues, which you noted to be an issue at the end of the first quarter when you ran those report cards. And let's make sure that this time around we're getting things right from the start rather than having to review things and catch up from the end. Last thing for faculty and perhaps for your staff too, if there isn't a professional development offering going on in the fall time, perhaps it's going on now around the Thanksgiving time, perhaps it's going on now early in November, that the students are in the swing of things and we haven't taken time off too early and broken that consistency with the students too early. Now we're breaking it now because we're further into the semester. But next up is staff.
Yeah, well, their staff. You got facilities to think about. So November, and no, it depends on your location, but this is the time, at least in Maryland, where we start wondering about, is it going to get cold? We don't want to be cold. So maybe we should consider turning the heat on. And maybe you've got one of those building leaders that are like, no, we don't turn the heat on until it's sub-zero. Looking at you, Minnesota. But yeah, you got heat, plans for snow removal. Do you have the supplies you need if you suddenly get some ice or anything like that? So preparing your facilities for the winter weather.
And for the smell.
Okay.
When you turn the heat on that first time,
That's
everybody
true.
thinks it's going to burn. What's burning?
I guess
What's burning? Who knows? What's going on?
True.
It's like, well,
might
we're
run
okay.
it a little bit before kids come.
We're okay, everybody. We'll get there.
Let's make sure we ensure office efficiency during a very busy parent visitation times when we got a lot of events going on. Again, we talked about the communication. So, make sure your office staff is very aware of what's going on, because when those phone calls come in, they've got to answer everything. So make sure that they know what's going on. Recognize support staff with thank you notes, or perhaps even a thank you lunch. That would be a very nice thing to do. That would be just for your staff, showing appreciation for the hard work that they do throughout the year. And then maybe you've got some early year orders or testing for the spring, or other things that you got to make sure get done. I know my secretary is often talking to me about things coming up in November. She's got to put orders in. So whatever those things might be, make sure you've got that all taken care of.
That note about testing came from one of our peers who said, by the way, I think it was late October or November, she said that she was being prompted to make some of her testing orders for the spring. So,
well, if it's AACS typically wants those orders in before November 1st.
Before November 1st.
But I mean, you can still order afterwards. There's just going to be a late fee for that. But yeah. Save yourself some money.
Take a look ahead, know what's coming up. All right, next up, friends and family. So when we say family and friends, we're talking about those stakeholders who are already involved with the ministry. Perhaps this is the grandma, grandpa, the uncle, and the aunt. This is their alumni coming back. But host a Friendsgiving or school-wide fellowship meal. Love this idea. Love this idea of bringing people back on campus however possible, for any reason possible. And a meal is a great way to do it. Or turning a chapel into that time. Perhaps your yearbook staff has a handle on who they're going to be, what alumni they're going to be inviting back for the yearbook celebration, or they're going to just be honoring that year. And you can maybe this is the first time your school could invite those 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40 anniversaries back on campus for this, as well as the rest of the alumni perhaps. Invite extended families to Thanksgiving chapels or programs. So same thing, find a time on campus to get people there, seeing what we are doing in our program, being that transparent space for them to see and to be encouraged by. And then, of course, encouraging student projects that highlight family heritage or tradition. We already noted, and we've noted throughout our timeline, the different, be it American, be it Native American Heritage Month, be it Black History Month, or Asia Pacific Islanders Month. If there is an opportunity for students to go into over a Thanksgiving break, hear of family traditions, hear of family heritage, hear of stories that, and this is an interesting one. Do you grade those? because some students may not have that. Do you offer extra credit for that? Do you just let them know you want to do that and you want to gather those stories? You want to encourage it, and it's something to have a conversation with your faculty and staff. But things to do with family and friends. Wrap this new sports season up with perhaps a conversation with reminding your fans, because we're moving to basketball. And I've said before that basketball is the sport that gives me the most heartache, but those winter sports that are nice and tight with everybody in the gym, perhaps this is the time you're reaching out to those stakeholders and say, you better lead the way, because otherwise I'm leading you off this court. It's just, things happen. But
yeah, and I'll say this too before we move off of family and friends, because I know in our principal's timeline, we're often very focused on the things that take place throughout the school day. But I would also encourage just you as building leaders, principals, that Friendsgiving idea is also a wonderful thing just to do personally with your friends, your circle of friends. If maybe it is just family, but make sure you are scheduling time in that season to be also refreshed, rejuvenated, encouraged with your friends. Moving on to community. We're almost done here. Community around us. November tends to be, I know for me, a great time to organize a community service project. We often, in connection with Thanksgiving, this is a great time to do food drives, to be donating to local food banks, or maybe you've got families in need. I know sometimes that's complicated, or maybe sensitive if you've got families in need but you know your school, you know your families. That's a great thing to do. That's practical and gives your kids an opportunity. And I'll also say, with a food drive, don't just bring all the food in necessarily and leave it at that. Get the kids involved in delivering it,
sorting it, stacking it. Yeah, I gotta say here, one of my favorite school defense systems literally was marketed as have an ongoing food drive in the back of the classroom, including cans. So that all year there are cans in the back of the classroom to throw at assailants. And that was, it'll always stick with me, because I'm like, I have these first graders.
Food drive.
Cans, armed with cans ready to go. But these prompts will end our months from here on out, and several of them will be similar. One will be dissimilar. So the dissimilar one will be month by month for Thanksgiving. Or for November, how am I personally modeling gratitude for students and staff? Dr. Chris Hobbs, again, the seemingly ever positive one. He does a wonderful job on his social media, offering gratitude for staffing, for his staff, his faculty and his staff and his students. Be encouraged by checking his personal social media out. Go find whoever it is that ignites in you that very necessary Christian virtue of Thanksgiving, and model that well for those around you. It will be well worth it to your school culture. Speaking of school culture, how can generosity be cultivated in your school culture? Could be another prompt that you would ask yourself leading into November. And then there are a couple that we will consistently ask you. So what traditions should we preserve or refresh this month?
This episode is brought to you by our partners at the Herzog Foundation, whose mission aligns beautifully with ours to advance and support Christ-centered education. The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze excellence in Christian schools, helping more children experience academic rigor, biblical truth, and strong moral character, all in a safe and nurturing environment. Whether through teacher training, principal development, or strategic media efforts, the Herzog Foundation is committed to helping you, the Christian school leader, fulfill your calling with excellence. Their vision is bold but clear, a national renaissance in Christian education that impacts culture for generations. At the Christian Principles Podcast, we're proud to stand with the Herzog Foundation in that mission. Learn more at herzogfoundation.com. Together, we're building schools and futures on the rock of Christ. And as always, tell them that the fellas here at the Christian Principles Podcast sent you their way.
And then what birthdays or anniversaries need attention this month? And with that being said, we are done with our November overlook, or look out for what's coming in November. I forgot to mention the emotion coming from November. I had said it earlier, and then I didn't actually go back and review it. But the two emotions, we give one positive and one negative, and we see you could perhaps measure yourself against where you are on either one of these. But of course, the first one would be gratitude or thanksgiving, and then if there was a positive, and then for the negative, perhaps overextended. Maybe someone's feeling overextended this month because of the things going on. But it's time to move on to our Christian Administrator Spotlight. What a wonderful relationship Faith Baptist School has with Fairwinds Christian School in Bear, Delaware. That is a long but a trip often taken for students to go up and to compete against them. And we have developed some good friends. I always will go back to Jerry, the longtime AD there at Fairwinds, and we're thankful for what Stephani and the crew are doing there as members of the Delaware Association of Christian Schools, AACS, sister organization to the Maryland Association of Christian Schools, of which Faith Baptist and we are a part of. So with Stephani, we're thankful for you. And I'll go ahead and pray for you and your work there at Fairwinds. Father in heaven, we thank you for Stephani. We thank you that we are able to offer you thanks for all that you have done for us. We thank you for giving us the air we breathe, the body we live in, and the reason to go about living. Give Stephani that same appreciation, that same need, anything along those lines. We would be excited to see what Fairwinds Christian School is able to do under her watch for you, and we'll celebrate her and them in the same way. Lord, we love you, and we thank you for all you've done for us. In your precious name of our Savior, your Son, Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Folks, thanks for growing with us today.
Before you go, please be sure to hit that follow button on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, on Spotify, be sure to tap the star icon near the top and select the number of stars you'd like to give us. We'd be so grateful for 5. On Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the ratings and review section and then tap write a review to share your thoughts of the podcast. Thank you.